Birds Outsiders is presented by Sugar House Casino.
Bills Mafia getting thrown through a table by the Eagles this week. Finally a win, celebrating this win Buffalo style. 31-13 Eagles.
The Hammerlock.
Woo!
Finally! Man, there's one tradition I don't understand. Let me just say, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do this today.
Oh, here we go.
So let's let that thing breathe.
Ooh,
As Natalie said, look, a big 31-13 win over the Buffalo Bills. Welcome to Birds Outsiders, presented by Sugar House Casino. For Natalie Egenolf and Roy Burton, I'm Jason Ashworth. Massive win. Perhaps a season turnaround win. But not without what seemed to be unprecedented drama, the drama that I haven't seen in this locker room for years or surround an Eagles team since the Chip Kelly era, where you had current and former players airing out dirty laundry to the media. You had them questioning the front office, questioning your quarterback, questioning your leadership, all led to a closed-door meeting, one that hasn't happened in the Doug Peterson era, and as I just alluded to, one I haven't seen for some time in Philadelphia. And I don't know who said what. I don't know what was said, but Natalie, it is good to be on the winning side again.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I picked them to win this week. I kind of had a good feeling, but the way that it went down just makes me feel so much better going forward, and I'm just so thankful for that win today.
This was the first time that Malcolm Jenkins said he saw an edge in practice. And once, you have the closed-door meeting, once everything that happens, once you can kind of put that behind you and kind of come together as a team, then you can focus on what you need to focus on. Doug Peterson said their focus today was playing football. Once they play football, they have the talent to be a pretty good team. We saw that today.
Well, they have the talent. We know that. And when you get guys in a locker room, right, a bunch of alpha males,
of course,
just especially in the football locker room,
drama.
It's not always going to be, as we always say, Natalie,
rainbows and unicorns.
It's not always going to be that way. There's going to be drama that obviously you have to work through. For them to come out the way that they did, because a lot was on the line. When you have a closed-door meeting and they are calling out your front office, and they are calling out your leadership, and it culminates into a closed-door meeting.
Yeah.
If you come out, like last week when Doug Peterson guaranteed the win and they didn't respond, that was your first tip to say, okay, something's not right. And then you double down, you up the ante, and you say we're going to have a closed-door meeting. Luckily, they came out today. They responded.
They responded. So I put out a tweet about how I was feeling after the win, and I asked for some reaction here. One GIF to describe this game. Look, there's Will Smith. He's feeling it. That's how I was feeling today.
Really from Philly, huh?
Run game was strong. Defense showed up. Carson, look, that's all of Philadelphia right now. That's how we're all going to feel, into Sunday night, into Monday morning. And, they just felt like running. How's my Forrest Gump? It's bad.
It's not good. Not as good as your Dick Tracy.
Not as good as my Dick Tracy.
Oh, wait, that was it? That was your Forrest Gump?
That was.
I thought there was more to come.
So Eagles clearly felt like running today.
But doesn't need to come down to that. We talked, throughout the course of the year. I mean, week one, we were talking about this team with Super Bowl aspirations. That was the chatter all throughout the preseason training camp, that they had on paper the roster to compete for a Super Bowl championship. So with teams of that caliber, should it have to come down to a closed-door meeting? Do teams that we hold in that high regard have closed-door meetings and question the leadership and question the front office?
I mean,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's the thing. Why does it have to get to that level of messiness off the field to kind of pull together for a win like that? And I'm optimistic that that's going to be the end of it for this season, because this should solidify going forward that mess that we had to clean up is now cleaned up, and with this win, we can kind of maybe reset.
Hopefully you can push the reset button. But Jason, you're right. Like typically, when you look at Super Bowl teams in the past, or even in other sports, you don't need to have closed door meetings. You don't need to have players only meetings where you can kind of clear the air and things like this. Apparently, this team needs to have some kind of moment to kind of galvanize around, because look, 2017, you had the underdog mask. All right, the underdog, everybody counted this out in 2017. 2018, you had the ski mask, Robin season, everything that goes along with that. Now in 2019, maybe Orlando Scandrick is the thing that kind of galvanizes this team to something to kind of go around and be the force to kind of drive them forward.
What I would like to see, and I think Jason, you and I both agree on this, is that why do we kind of need the gimmicks? why do we kind of need the gimmicks? I mean, this is football. We shouldn't need dog masks. We shouldn't need ski masks. We shouldn't need a former teammate, spilling the tea on national television to kind of get the team to come together. If that's what had to happen this season, fine. But going forward, No more.
I think
we just need to win football games.
That's a great point, Natalie. That's kind of the frustrating part, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and you never want to see like your squad. Like, I don't want to have drama. I don't want to have some sort of underdog mentality. I want to go out and do you and be the better team. I don't need to be influenced by drama or whatever shortcomings or whatever injuries, whatever it may be, in order for me to play at my full capacity.
Yeah, just be winners.
Just do what you do.
Yeah.
Do
We're
a
a talented football team.
Not to
go out there and win games.
Not to overstate it, but do your job, right? And I don't want any excuses to why you're doing. Just do your job.
Right.
Now that said, a good ailment, a good cure, is the Buffalo Bills.
100%.
When you come out of that, I mean, it's a lot different than coming out of a closed door meeting and playing the Seattle Seahawks, who you'll see coming up, or the Patriots coming up. You're playing the Buffalo Bills. So I guess the question I have for both of you is. Is it more that the Eagles buttoned it up and turned it around and got whatever was ailing them or whatever stench was in the locker room out? Or is it that, okay, you got an overrated Buffalo, 5-1. But I mean, between the teams, I mean, we're talking about they beat the Jets, the Giants, the Titans, the Bengals, the Dolphins. 7 wins total. I mean, those 5 squads.
But like you're saying, clearly, look, Henley feels that way. It's just the Bills people. But I don't know. I kind of feel like this is what we needed. I don't care if it's against the Bills. I don't care who it was against the week. If they didn't win the game this week, I was ready to call it.
Bigger problem.
I was ready to call it. I mean, honestly, I was ready to call it on the season after losing to Dallas last week the way that they did. They could not go into this week and afford to lose. I don't care who it was to. A win today, in my opinion, is enough to bolster not only the fan base's confidence, I think, but also the team's confidence going forward.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm still in the Henley camp. I still think this is this is, according to Football Outsiders, and then take whatever you want from advanced statistics, but this was the worst graded 5-1 team in the history of football. Okay, the Buffalo Bills. Wasn't a great team. Jason just told you the teams that they beat. Not a great Buffalo Bills team. They have a pedestrian quarterback. You play this team in the rain. This team still, after 8 weeks, still hasn't played one complete 4-quarter game this year. I mean, we saw flashes today. We saw great things from all aspects of this team. I'm still waiting for a complete game. You can't play 2 quarters and 3 quarters of football and expect to beat a team like the Patriots.
The Bills stink.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just say
I know.
They're
I know
good.
they stink.
They're a good recipe to get back on track. But I said it prior to the game. And my pops, who has been, we text out, every day, and we go back and forth, especially during game days, and he'll tell me what he thinks the score is. And for the first 7 weeks of the season, I was telling him I disagree. I disagree because he was seeing something that I wasn't seeing.
Right.
For example, he thought we were going to get blown out by the Vikings. Correct. Thought we were going to lose to the Cowboys. Correct. Thought we were going to lose to the Bills. And I said to him, it's hard for me to argue that.
Right.
But going into the game, I felt like everything that was happening. I mean, the Bills, the Eagles' run defense, solid, right? And that'll match up. The weather I thought was going to be an issue because Josh Allen wouldn't be able to throw the ball to take advantage of the secondary.
It was.
But ultimately, I just think that the Eagles caught a break.
Yeah.
And you play who you play. You can't change the schedule. But I think playing the Bills was a good recipe to get back on track. So that said, if they are back on track, where's your confidence level? Are you buying back in? Are you fully invested and on board? Have they righted the ship, or is there more to see?
I still think there's more to see. However, they've righted the ship so far for me this way. James Gilbert checks in with me on Twitter. He says, I feel relieved after today's win. So I think that's maybe this fan base's reaction is just a general sigh of relief because a loss. They couldn't lose. And I know we keep saying it's just the Bills. I'm confident. I think that this is enough for the team, again, I said it before, for them to feel the momentum shift and to just carry on to the second half of the season, now that this tough road stretch is now behind us.
Roy, did you see enough?
I didn't see enough. I still need to see more. I think the Bears next week, even though they're 3-4 off a tough loss today, I think beating that team, a defense that good at home, is enough for me to going into the bye to see something. But just for the fact that you're 4-4, okay, because it's just in your mind, when you see 4-4, you feel good. It's you're 500. It's not the most ideal situation, but 4-4 is kind of a psychological thing that says maybe this team is it's on the right track.
It's all about balance.
Yeah, it's all about balance.
Well, no, it is. And today, look, I didn't see enough for me to tell you that I think the season is back on track.
I agree.
I think this is the first step to doing that. But you said it's all about balance, and that's exactly what we saw today. Not only offensively, but specifically defensively.
Defense.
Held the Bills, who again, I'm not a big fan of the Bills, but held the Bills to 13 points. Pressure from the line. You saw them bring the blitz a couple times, forced a couple fumbles. Overall, Natalie, I think we saw a good defensive performance.
We saw a great defensive performance. Good, great for the win. And I think what we've been struggling with the defense is what we saw corrected today. Just small steps to being better, putting the pressure on the quarterback, and not allowing the opposing offense to take the ball down the field. And that's what we need to stop all season long, and we were able to do that today. And I think that the way that it was done, well, look, a week that Eagles cornerbacks didn't get burnt. Yes, like some confidence there.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Some
I mean, even
confidence with the cornerback situation.
Even just getting Ronald Darby back, and you saw in that 4th and 10 play where he batted it down to stall the drive after a Boston Scott fumble.
It felt like forever since we've seen that.
Yeah. Well, no,
It was forever since we've seen that.
A nice defensive effort, but specifically in the second half, right?
Yeah.
Where the Bills, the fourth quarter, they owned. The Bills typically own their opponents, but
Correct.
a second half defensive play by the Eagles was outstanding.
You know, outstanding defensive play by the Bills. Again, the Eagles scored that first touchdown, the Miles Sanders touchdown.
Sure.
Bills come right back and they score. After that score, the Bills didn't score for the rest of the game. That's 24 minutes and 36 seconds. No more points given up by that defense. Just a couple other stats to give you. The final 6 drives of the game, the Buffalo Bills had 30 net yards, 6 first downs. 3 of those 4 sacks by the Eagles came in the second half. Just a complete and utterly dominant performance.
Those are the numbers that I like to hear.
And again, we talk about coming out of a players-only meeting. So when you come out of players-only meetings, you look for your leaders to step up.
Exactly.
Right? Brandon Graham, 6 tackles, a sack, a forced fumble, a recovery. Fletcher
Big
Cox
day for
gets in
BJ.
for a sack and a half.
Yep.
So it's nice to see him. When you come out of a players-only meeting, you want your leaders to show by example.
Correct.
Set the example based on the play on the field. I'll tell you something that I really appreciate. The defensive line has been decimated, right? We had practice squad, but you had Huggins and Rush and Bruce Hector. You had a glorified special teamers and Duke Riley backing them up. You had an undrafted free agent in TJ Edwards playing linebacker, although I'm high on Edwards, and you know that. And they held Frank Gore to 34 yards rushing.
34 yards.
I mean, Allen, the quarterback, had more rushing yards from that. So point being that they glued it together. They went out there, they did their job.
They did their job.
They did their
Do your job.
Now, we're talking a lot about the defense.
The defense, but the
think
offense.
the offense has something to say.
offense also did their job today. Notably, Boston Scott. I mean, he had his moment today. His first career touchdown.
Ooh.
I mean, it might have been short-lived. Bob checks in. R.I.P. Boston Scott's relevance. 3:05 to 3:11 p.m. 10:27:19. But it was a wonderful 6 minutes.
It was good.
Come on, B.
Happy
Scott.
for that little guy. We'll talk about the offense, Carson Wentz, and more when we come back on Birds Outsiders. Carson Wentz throws for 350 yards and a loss. Fans, Wentz didn't do enough. Wentz throws for 180 yards in a dominant win. Wentz didn't do enough. Carson Wentz had himself a day today, whether you like the day, whether you didn't like the day. He was there. He performed. He showed up in this victory.
Good old Dan Booney.
Booney.
Welcome back to Birds Outsiders, presented by Sugar House Casino. If you want to join in on the conversation, just use the hashtag Birds Outsiders. Let's stick with the offense. We can talk about Carson Wentz, but the offense in general put up 31 points on the Bills. It's the most points the Bills have given up this year.
Yep.
I want to focus in, though, on that fourth quarter drive. The drive to open up the fourth quarter that took 8 minutes and 17 seconds of possession. They went 83 yards. It ended in a touchdown, 14 plays worth. When I look at that when I was watching that drive, now ultimately I didn't recognize it until the drive culminated, but I'm not telling you it's the same team. We know that it's not. I'm not telling you it's going to end the same way. We don't know that. But it was reminiscent to me of the 2017 drive against the Chargers, where they had to bleed the clock and they went the whole damn way down the field and put it right. So for me, when I look at that drive and I realize how important this game was to righting the ship, I look at it and I say, not only was this drive important for this game, but looking back, if they're able to turn it around, that's an important drive for the season, Roy.
I think it's an important drive for the season. It was the best drive we've seen so far this season. But most importantly, you know, even with the lack of playmakers, on this Eagles team, even with the weather being what it was, they found ways to continue to, as we say, matriculate the ball down the field, multiple different times. Twice on third down. Your quarterback, Carson Wentz, a guy who gets a lot of heat in this town, he converted 2 third and 10-plus plays with his legs.
Sure did.
With his legs.
Sure did.
Also had a 20-yard run by Jordan Howard on that drive and an 18-yard catch by Zach Ertz on that drive. You found ways to make plays when you needed to make plays. Because, again, it was 24-13 when that drive started. Still a two-possession game. Plenty of time left in the fourth quarter. The game was still in doubt. Carson Wentz basically made all doubt go away.
You just said sure did.
Sure did.
And I know
And
it's
you know
funny
why.
because look, when you see that drive, to me, Wentz wanted it. Right? I think as a fan, that's all you can ask for. Just show me that you want it, right? Lay it out there. Wentz had 2 rushes for 24 yards.
24 yards.
It was 24 yards in that drive. One of them was third. Actually, they were both
third down,
right?
yeah,
They
both
were
third
both
and
third
10+.
downs.
Yep.
I think they completed 3 third downs on that drive alone. But when Wentz was rushing, you said no, no, no. You're not a fan of it.
Look, I know he has to, and again, it was the drive of the game. It was the drive of the season. We all know that. I'm thankful for it. However, every time he takes a step, the further and further he goes, my heart skips a beat because I have so much anxiety. I'm still like paralyzed from the injuries, and I can't help it. And I know that that's just the type of quarterback he is. That's why we love him. I can't pretend like it doesn't scare me though. You know, we said stick with the run today. Wasn't really prepared for Wentz to be running it like that. I mean, honestly, it was incredible. He's remarkable, and again, this is why he is who he is. Why he's our franchise quarterback, because of his ability to do that.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah, it's warranted. Your fears are warranted, or the trepidation is warranted because obviously he has an injury history.
Yeah.
But I mean, third down is where you make your money.
So we make your money.
It was
NFL quarterback,
beautiful.
that's why. So I can't ask Carson Wentz if you need a conversion, and that's my guy, that's my franchise quarterback. Find a way to get the first down. Yes, I understand you're putting yourself at risk, and there's a time and a place to do it. To me, in those situations, that was the time, that was the place.
And he saw the opening. He saw that he could do it. And I think that that's where it comes in is I have to trust that he's not going to put himself in those situations if there's no possible way that he's going to be able to extend it.
Right.
Well, let's stay on rushing, right? Because they did run the ball for 41 times. That does include Wentz, but 41 times for what, 218 yards?
18, yeah.
They got in the end zone 3 times via running the ball.
Yeah.
Is this, and albeit they got to win. Go figure. You run the ball, you play a little defense, you get a win. How about that? But that said, is
Seems
this
so simple.
Was that more because of the weather that was dictating that you're running the football, or is this the recipe for how this team's going to win football games?
I think about how Lane Johnson said this team is a running team. And we were kind of waiting for that game to see when that would be showcased. And today was that day. It's a record for the Doug Peterson era.
Right, most yards in the Doug Peterson era, rushing yards, but in the Doug Peterson era. I don't trust Doug. I'm sorry. I just don't trust him. I think it was weather related. Again, this is a team that just always gets away from the run when, whenever Doug has a chance to get away from the run, he gets away from the run. This
You
team,
think? You don't think he runs? I mean, because we talk about it every week, and surprisingly so, at least in the first half, he runs the ball a lot.
No, but he gets away from it as soon as he's like, oh, I'm down 10, because they're always down 10.
Well, do you
Always
think that's
down 10.
indicative, though?
That's
Because we're
indicative
saying the
of-
weather dictates that he runs. Well, being down 10, 14, doesn't that dictate that you need to throw?
But he does it even before they're down 10, though. He does it when they're down 3, or he does it when they're down 7. I mean, this team just finds reasons not to run the ball. I think this was weather related. Show me next week. Okay?
Sure.
Show me
Okay,
again next
fair.
week. Because again, you said 41 runs. Show me next week. Show me the same balance, run-pass balance. Because it was a pretty balanced 50-50. Because I threw out a lot of those runs at the end because it was garbage time runs. It was a pretty 50-50 balance offensive pass-run split. Show me again next week against the Bears, and maybe I'll believe it.
Now, I even if it is weather related, to go off your point, I think maybe he'll see, oh wow, look how well it worked. Even if it was in the rain, even that's why he did it, maybe he'll be more inclined now to say, stick with what works. This is what works. This is what got us 31 points.
We don't have a lot of
not?
time. We don't have a lot of time, but I do want to throw in a little kudos to Doug, because look, we bang on him just as hard as we do everybody else. I get it, but I want to give props to Doug Peterson real quick, because the first 15, albeit it only netted 3 points.
3 points.
I saw a lot that I liked from Doug Peterson. We talk about coaches. Look, for all the players that need to come out and show out after the meeting and their jobs are on the line, quote unquote, well, you need your head coach to step up as well, and I think he schemed very well early in the game. You saw the quick out by Aguilar to pick up the first down in the opening possession. Well, he schemed him open.
Right.
He gave him a reverse. You saw Sanders. We've been screaming to get Sanders in a screenplay, in screenplay design. You did that, right? Even the incomplete pass to Alshon early, the 50-50 ball.
Right.
You're putting your players in a position to succeed as a head coach. That's what you got to do. I'm going to give props to Doug Peterson for doing so.
And that's the thing. I mean, Aguilar, of course, is probably in his own head now, given the whole Dallas thing and tracking the ball. If he has problems tracking the ball, hand it off to him.
Exactly.
Run an end around. He's your fastest player on this team, healthy player on this team. Give him the ball in space. Let him create. Now, you don't need to go to the well too many times, but you can still make plays.
I feel like he simplified, and that's what worked today.
Yeah. Well,
He simplified, he kept it simple, and it got us a win. Now, trade deadline Tuesday. Hallie, what are you going to do? Go get some help for this defense, and a wide receiver would be great, too. We have plenty to talk about. It could go multiple ways. We'll discuss that when we come back on Birds Outsiders.
Come on, Howie.
Have you ever played one-day fantasy football? Now's your chance. Go to DraftKings.com to build your own lineup by choosing players and staying under the salary cap. Here's a look at the players we focus on in the 1 o'clock games, and by we, I mean our boss Doug, who always complains we never give him a shout out. This is a really good lineup today.
Come on.
Shout out Doug.
Speaking of Doug's, I hope Doug sends the game ball to Orlando Scandrick. Yeah, Mitch Rupert. Me too.
Good luck on that media career. Welcome back to Birds Outsiders. All right, so the Eagles improved to 4-4, right? And we said it numerous times. They may have righted the ship. We'll see what that means. So the obvious question is, with the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday, are the Eagles buyers or sellers at 4-4 now?
I mean,
Come on.
sellers.
Sellers?
I think they might be sellers.
You think
A
so?
couple guys might be going, a couple guys might be coming. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm going to
Okay,
see.
Roy, can you bring us back home, please?
I think they're going to be buyers. You saw it last year. They were 3-4. They went to London. It wasn't a pretty game. They beat the Jaguars. After that game, they got Golden Tate. This year, 3-4. They got a win. Again, it wasn't the prettiest win, but it was a nice, solid win. I think they're going to go out and get a wide receiver. Hopefully, Temple's own Robbie Anderson. Come on, let's do it.
Which might actually
That'd
not
be
be a bad
nice.
take. I'll tell you what, if they're sellers, there's bigger problems because it's the NFL. I mean, the division is within reach. If you're giving up on the season at 4-4, I think there's bigger problems. Now, I don't know if you go out and you get a Robbie Anderson to assist the offense. I think it would help. I still ideally would like to find a pass rusher. Again, but they're not just out there
They're not
readily
just hanging
available,
out there,
especially
yeah.
with the draft capital it would take. But ultimately, I think Howie Roseman pulls the trigger. Agree?
I agree. I think
Yeah,
so.
I mean, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what he does.
Well, fair enough. Look, next week, 1 o'clock, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to welcome the Chicago Bears into town. That's the true test. Make sure you tune into Eagles pregame live and then Eagles postgame live, directly following the game with Michael Barkan, Seth Joyner, Ray Dinger, and Barrett Brooks. Big shout out for the National
National Tight Ends Day.
And from Barrett Brooks, I appreciate it.
Congrats.
And then directly following postgame, you can find us, Natalie Egenolf, Roy Burton, and myself, Jason Ashworth. We'll see you next week on Birds Outsiders, presented by Sugar House Casino.
Birds Outsiders is presented by Sugar House Casino. Philly loves a winner.